Well, saying that people are scared when they're acting in lawful self-defense is offensive. Basically, every way that Tim characterized that was just unbelievably uncharitable to the police officer who clearly shot in self-defense. He was directly in front of the vehicle when Miss Good hit the accelerator. Now, maybe she was going to continue turning, but maybe she wasn't. He was 2 feet in front of it. And that woman had just defied a lawful order to be detained. I mean, we have to understand before this happened, and that's not, again, not to say that she deserved to be shot. This execution thing is so frivolous because it's not about her being given punishment for her actions. It's about her creating the scenario in which another person felt a reasonable fear of deadly injury. Well, she committed multiple felonies in this context. Parking her car in the middle of the road, obstructing a law enforcement investigation. And then finally, this aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. A car is not a trivial thing. And I mean, you think about police stops all over the country. The primary danger is people fleeing in their vehicles with which are 2 tons of metal coming at them. It's also not just self-defense; it's defense of others as well. There's a person hanging onto the side of the car right there
and I will have
who
an
could easily
exchange.
be dragged along.
All right, but Will, you and I had an exchange on X about whether this constitutes domestic terrorism. I think that's such a ridiculous phrase to use about what we've all witnessed with our own eyes here. She's not a domestic terrorist. She wasn't trying to commit an act of terrorism against this ICE officer. Now, I happen to think that what may be a key part of this is that it emerged that 6 months earlier, the same ICE officer had been dragged by a car in a similar situation, hundreds of yards, and had suffered injuries and probably a lot of trauma, right? We don't know how much trauma, but how much was that playing on his mind when he's there? He's ignored his training, which is that ICE officers should not be standing in front of a car in that situation, nor should they fire at a moving vehicle. That's what they're trained not to do.
That last part is certainly incorrect. When you are allowed to fire at a moving vehicle in self-defense or in defense of others.
Right. If you genuinely think your life is in danger, right? Now the question. So the question is.
That's not.
I'm sorry. How does firing at a moving vehicle make you more safe? This doesn't even make sense,
really?
Piers. Again, she's barely moving. If you shoot someone, as we saw with that car, if you shoot someone driving,
I think the point I'm making, Tim,
they're going to lean forward and press on the gas.
Yeah, but
it makes
Tim,
it more dangerous.
This is standard policy.
The point I'm making is we don't know what was in anyone's minds. I think it's quite likely that what was in the mind of this ICE officer is what happened to him 6 months earlier, right? And it may be that he panicked because he feared the same thing happening again. I'm not excusing or justifying what he did. I'm explaining what may end up being one of the factors involved here. It doesn't seem to me to be irrelevant that the same guy was dragged by a car and could potentially have been killed in that incident 6 months earlier.
Well, my point is, I think that there's no
everybody
need
is
to
ignoring the
excuse him.
original sin. Hold on a second. I've been